French and Arabic are two powerful languages that unite markets across North Africa, the Middle East, and Sub-Saharan Africa. And there's no reason why these platforms or technologies need to be presented as English only.
Gary, there's a question from a Twitter user in Pakistan which has come to us over the internet and then using the World Bank's latest technology has been written by hand on a piece of paper and transferred to me. And the question is, matching skills with labor market demands is a big challenge in low-income countries. How do you determine the skills that the potential contractor worker has?
So the question about how do we determine the skills. So we have a bunch of different ways. Primarily, it's feedback and reputation. So somebody comes into our platform, they claim to have skills, they get started, and they're going to get feedback after every job. So it's very transparent whether or not you have the skills you say you have. But typically, it involves getting started first. So what about people that come in and you have no idea because they haven't worked yet? We have over 400 different tests that they can take. They're all free. You can come and take these tests and prove that you have the skills you say you have. And these are everything from lots of technical tests, but also an English written test, a social media test, just general stuff, as well as very specific stuff like PHP level 5. Right, and so contractors take these tests to showcase what they have. They can also upload samples of their previous work history. So we have a whole portfolio section if they have samples of their writing or samples of anything they've done. And then they also distinguish themselves via a cover letter. So every job, again, 160,000 plus jobs in the month of April, you as a contractor are going to filter or sort on the ones that are most relevant for you. And then you're going to apply for that job. And we have a lot of training modules and education around helping contractors to get started, because at the end of the day, our business is about a network of 300,000 businesses, 1.6 million contractors, and we want to get as many people working as possible because that'll bring more jobs, and more jobs will bring more contractors. And not only do we want more jobs and contractors, but we want a successful result. If a new client comes in and gets a bunch of contractors that aren't qualified for the job applying anyway, or if they start and they don't get the results they wanted, they're not going to come back. And so for us, it's really important that we facilitate a good match by showcasing the folks that have the best skills relative to what that client needs. And so it's a hard problem to solve. We're doing our best to do that.
You want to weigh in?
Yeah, just on the sort of question of reputation, skills, and representation and all that. I think one of the things very exciting about the confluence of technologies and innovations right now, in a case of things being built for something and used entirely differently, is the evolution and the sophistication with the everybody's ability to manage their own reputation, their presentation digitally, is something that is now open to billions of people and more all the time. A lot of people's first usable identity is a phone number. They get the SIM card, and that's how they can represent themselves in a local market to other businesses. Now you layer on top of that a Twitter handle or your Facebook page. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you got a Facebook page, or companies that are building transactional records of who you've worked with before and what your mobile payment history may have been, and the ability to give people would-be business partners the ability to kind of represent, manage trust on their own with each other with these kind of digital tools is, again, it's a very, very quickly changing environment, but the opportunity is there to really transform the way we think of work and reputation. And that when these questions of trust and reputation were one of the things which was kind of making people only trade with certain other people that they knew. It was the old model of doing business, and maybe these tools are going to help us get out of that.
Sir?
Thank you. My name is Alex Lara. I have two questions. First of all, as you know, labor laws vary from one country to another. And you talked about compliance earlier, Gary. How do you collect data on age, race, disability, gender issues, religion, sexual orientation? For example, in the US model, you know that you cannot ask those questions. And how do you do a job search in developing countries? targeting, certain, without asking those questions, of course, since, you are, I believe, US-based company, and you should follow certain rules and regulations. On the same token, let's assume that your company is liable for whatever, failing a labor law in a developing country, in a newly created law in a developing country. Where is this? To what country is your company accountable?
So in an innovative business model like this is a new frontier. And I often will point to examples like PayPal. PayPal was about to go public without money transmission licenses. So imagine that. PayPal is collecting money from one person in order to pay it to another. And they were claiming right up to the point they were about to go public that they weren't a bank, right? Well, they're a bank today, and there's companies like Amazon that still isn't paying state taxes in some states. And so the fact of the matter is that if you take this from, there's two ways to approach a business like this. If you're going to go innovate, if you're Souktel or Microsoft, you could say, hey, we're gonna go research everything and understand to the letter of the law each of the regulatory constraints. You would never start a business because it's a bottomless pit. And instead, you have to take the approach of innovate, move as fast as you can. And in some cases, you have to say, let's let this be a problem when it's a problem. Now, that's the approach that we've taken as a business. And then as we grow and we start to get critical mass, we have some leverage then to go to the U.S. government and say, hey, let us show you what we're doing. And let us tell you how we built our platform to be just a platform. We're not the employer of record. We're not understanding whether or not it's a W-2 or 1099. But what we've done now is we can support our customers either way. This customer comes to oDesk, US to US, and we say 1099 or W-2. And they say, well, we're not sure. We say, well, here's the guidelines. And if you're still not sure, go consult your attorney. And whatever you pick, we have your back. If you pick 1099, we'll take care of the 1099. If you pick W-2, we'll take care of the W-2. State taxes, withholding benefits, 401k. Same cost to you, the client. Different money goes to the contractor, W-2 versus 1099. And then we solve, in descending order by geography, all of these compliance issues. There's some countries where I'm sure that it's not entirely compliant. Think France to France maybe. We're not worried about France to France because 80+% of the work in our platform crosses a border. It's going from one country to another. Right, so we're leveraging the global nature of work, and to the degree that we can, we're spending a lot of money on attorneys in each of these jurisdictions to make sure that we're a half a step ahead.
And do you collect demographic data on the contractors, as he said?
We're collecting some demographic data, but in a remote relationship. So here, those laws weren't written for work via the internet, where the worker never goes on site. You've never seen the worker. You're chatting with them. Maybe you're speaking with them on the phone, but the decision to hire somebody is based on their skill, their knowledge, their reputation, their motivation, less on their personal characteristics. There is no face-to-face communication in a distributed remote work environment.
Over here, ma'am.